Hello everyone and welcome to my The Young and the Restless official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Young and the Restless recap for Wednesday, March 4th reveals that Matt Clark's message will leave Sharon Newman unsettled while Phyllis Summers lies to Billy Abbott and leaves him fearing the worst. At Billy's place, he'll canoodle with Sally Spectra in their robes and get confirmation that she's recommitted to him as long as he's not lying to her again. After Sally and Billy reflect on their evolving communication skills, Phyllis will show up with a phony story about a chancellor contract snag. This will seem awfully reminiscent of when Kane Ashby used that excuse and betrayed Billy soon after, so it'll trigger some concerns. Billy will wonder if Phyllis is about to become a backstabber too, but she'll deny it and act like he should stop being so paranoid. Once Phyllis leaves, Billy will have a bad gut feeling that something's going on with Phyllis and that it's not going to end well for him. Billy will leave Jack Abbott a voicemail moments later since he'll need some advice. On Kane Ashby's train, he'll try to convince Daniel Romalotti Jr. that Phyllis's victory is hollow now that she's lost her children. Daniel will think Phyllis only cares about being in charge, but Kane will claim he's seen a genuine shift in Daniel's mother. In fact, Kane will suggest that if Daniel and Summer Newman bargain by offering Phyllis forgiveness to surrender her position of power, it could change everything. Daniel will consider the idea that Phyllis really is unhappy as Kane acts like they can all get what they want. At Crimson Lights on Wednesday's YNR episode, Tessa Porter will catch up with Sharon, who will mention wanting to set up a time to see Aria Porter Copeland. Sharon will also hint about wanting Mariah Copeland to come, but she'll acknowledge that her daughter said she wasn't ready for that. Tessa will think that's for the best since seeing Mariah would probably confuse Aria right now. Once Daniel arrives, he'll give Tessa the latest news regarding Phyllis. Tessa will admit she'd likely give Phyllis another chance in Daniel's shoes, so he'll wonder if she'd feel the same way if Mariah asked for one. Tessa won't be sure what she'd do, but she won't think Mariah cares about her forgiveness at this point. Since Mariah hasn't taken any opportunity to plead for reconciliation, Tessa will still be prepared to move on. On Kane's train, Phyllis will let him know that she stalled Billy by claiming there was a contract issue. Kane won't approve of that excuse since it's the same one he used on Billy, and it's bound to raise red flags. Kane will suggest he made progress with Daniel, but Phyllis will argue that having him beyond the fence isn't good enough. After Kane suggests they may need someone else to help get through to him, Phyllis will think Daniel will listen to Tessa. While Kane asks Phyllis for 24 hours, Victoria Newman will complain to Victor Newman and Nikki Newman about Nick Newman not responding to her texts or calls. However, Nick will eventually walk in the ranch and admit he purposely avoided contact with his family. It was so the Newmans wouldn't try to talk Nick out of his plans, which involved going to Los Angeles and trying to dig up info on where Matt went. Nick will admit Matt's completely underground, and that despite turning over a lot of stones, he came up empty. Nikki will think that's good since Nick might have done something they'd all regret if he landed in jail. Once talk turns to the situation with Kane, Victor will insist he's done waiting on Kane's plan and is moving forward with one of his own. Victor won't offer up details, but he'll admit it doesn't involve Lily Winters and the twins. After Victor suggests he should have used this plan from the beginning, he'll text Billy and ask him to come to the ranch over an urgent matter. Once Billy shows up, Victor will make it clear that Chancellor will be his again by the end of the day, or else the Abbotts will never see Jack again. Back with Nick, he'll catch up with Sharon at the coffee house. Sharon will find out about Nick's LA trip, not providing any Matt clues, so they'll worry since he could be far away or hiding in plain sight. Matt will eventually text Nick that he's sorry he missed him in LA, so Nick will show Sharon and leave her gasping in horror. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Matt will continue to play mind games, so don't miss what's in store. In this powerful midweek chapter of The Young and the Restless, the calm before the storm doesn't last long, and by the end of the day, fear, suspicion, and psychological warfare will leave Genoa City reeling. The morning begins in a rare pocket of warmth. At Billy Abbott's place, the world feels smaller, softer. Billy and Sally Spectra linger in their robes, wrapped not just in fabric but in something far more fragile, trust. There's an ease between them now, a sense that maybe, just maybe, they've learned from the wreckage of their past mistakes. Sally looks at Billy with open sincerity and confirms what he's quietly hoped for. She's recommitted to him. She's all in. But there's one condition: no more lies. No more secrets, not ever again. Billy agrees. They talk about how far they've come, how they've learned to communicate instead of combust. It feels mature, promising, almost peaceful. And that's exactly when the knock comes. Phyllis Summers arrives. She doesn't burst in with chaos, not this time. Instead, she slips into the room with a carefully crafted explanation. There's a snag with the Chancellor contract, she says. A technical complication, something that needs immediate attention. The words hang in the air, because Billy has heard this before. Kane Ashby once used that exact excuse, a contract issue, right before betraying him in spectacular fashion. The memory flashes in Billy's mind like a warning siren. His posture stiffens, his eyes narrow. Is history about to repeat itself? He directly questions Phyllis. Is she planning to stab him in the back? Is he being set up again? Phyllis denies it with controlled indignation. She acts almost offended that Billy would even suggest such paranoia. But the damage is done. The seed of doubt has been planted. And once she walks out the door, Billy's confidence collapses into a sickening gut feeling. Something is wrong. He can feel it. Within moments, he reaches for his phone and leaves a voicemail for Jack Abbott. His voice carries that familiar edge, the one that says he's bracing for impact. He needs advice, he needs backup. Because if this is another betrayal, it won't just hurt, it could destroy him. Meanwhile, miles away aboard Kane Ashby's train, another high-stakes conversation unfolds. Kane sits across from Daniel Romalotti Jr., attempting something delicate, something strategic. He tells Daniel that Phyllis's so-called victory means nothing now. Yes, she may have power. Yes, she may be in charge. But what good is control if she's lost her children? Daniel isn't convinced. To him, his mother has always chased power first and paid for it later. He believes Phyllis cares more about dominance than family. But Kane pushes back. He claims he's seen a real shift in Phyllis, something genuine, something human. He suggests a bold possibility. What if Daniel and Summer Newman offered forgiveness? What if they made reconciliation the bargaining chip in exchange for Phyllis surrendering her position of power? The idea lands heavily. Forgiveness for control. Daniel doesn't dismiss it outright. For the first time, he considers that his mother might actually be unhappy beneath her armor, that perhaps this fight for power is just another mask. Kane leans in, speaking with careful optimism. Maybe, just maybe, everyone can get what they want. Across town at Crimson Lights, life feels quieter but no less complicated. Tessa Porter meets Sharon Newman for coffee, and the conversation turns to Aria Porter Copeland. Sharon gently mentions wanting to set up time to see her granddaughter. There's longing in her voice, a grandmother's ache. She even hints at wanting Maria Copeland there too, though she quickly acknowledges what her daughter has already made painfully clear. Maria isn't ready. Tessa agrees it may be for the best. Seeing Maria right now would only confuse little Aria. Stability matters, clarity matters, and sometimes distance hurts less than false hope. Then Daniel walks in. He updates Tessa on the latest developments with Phyllis, the potential shift, the idea of forgiveness. Tessa listens carefully. In Daniel's shoes, she admits she might consider giving Phyllis another chance. Daniel's eyes sharpen. Would she feel the same way if Mariah asked for one? The question hits harder than expected. Tessa hesitates. She doesn't know what she'd do, but she confesses something raw. She doesn't even think Maria wants her forgiveness right now. Maria hasn't fought for reconciliation. She hasn't asked. She hasn't tried. And because of that silence, Tessa is preparing herself to move on. Back on the train, Phyllis updates Kane. She admits she stalled Billy using the contract issue excuse. Kane's reaction is immediate. Disapproval. It's the same lie he once used. The same red flag. Billy will recognize it, he already has. The move could blow everything up. Phyllis brushes off the concern. What matters is the bigger picture. She wants results, and Daniel sitting on the fence isn't good enough. Kane suggests they may need help getting through to him. Phyllis doesn't hesitate. Daniel will listen to Tessa. It's a calculated play. Kane, sensing the stakes, asks for 24 hours. Just one day to make this work. But in Genoa City, one day can change everything. At the Newman Ranch, tension simmers. Victoria Newman is visibly frustrated, pacing as she vents to Victor Newman and Nicky Newman. Nick Newman hasn't responded to her texts or calls. He's gone silent. And then he walks in. Nick admits the truth. He deliberately avoided his family. He knew they would try to talk him out of his plan. He went to Los Angeles. He went looking for Matt. He wanted answers. But Matt has gone completely underground. Nick turned over every stone he could find and came up empty. No clues, no sightings, nothing. Nicky exhales in reluctant relief. Maybe it's better this way. If Nick had found Matt, there's no telling what he might have done, and jail would have been a very real possibility. The room shifts when the conversation turns to Kane. Victor's patience has run out. He declares that he's done waiting on Kane's plan. He's moving forward with one of his own. He doesn't reveal the details. Only this, it does not involve Lily Winters or the twins, and he should have used it from the beginning. Victor then sends a text. Billy Abbott. An urgent request to come to the ranch. Moments later, Billy arrives, walking straight into a storm. Victor doesn't soften the message. He doesn't sugarcoat the threat. Chancellor will be his again by the end of the day. Or the Abbotts will never see Jack again. The words land like a detonation. A corporate battle has just become something far darker. And as night falls, one final shock ripples through Genoa City. Back at Crimson Lights, Nick reconnects with Sharon. He fills her in on Los Angeles. The dead ends, the frustration, the growing uncertainty. They both admit what they're afraid to say out loud. Matt could be anywhere, far away or hiding in plain sight. Then Nick's phone buzzes, a text message from Matt. I'm sorry I missed you in LA. Nick slowly turns the screen toward Sharon. Her face drains of color. Matt knew he was there. Matt was watching. And if he's playing games from the shadows now, what happens next? As the psychological warfare escalates and loyalties fracture under pressure, one thing is certain, Matt isn't done. And neither is the chaos he's about to unleash. The silence after Sharon sees that text is suffocating. For a moment, neither she nor Nick can breathe. The message is simple, casual even. Sorry I missed you in LA. But beneath those harmless-looking words is something far more disturbing. He knew. Matt knew Nick was in Los Angeles. He knew he was being hunted. He knew exactly how close Nick had come, and he let him get that close. Sharon's fingers tremble slightly as she sets the phone down on the cafe table. Crimson Lights suddenly feels too exposed, too public. Every face in the room becomes a question mark. Nick, this means he was watching you, she whispers. Nick's jaw tightens. He hates the idea, hates the thought that Matt may have been just steps away, observing, calculating, enjoying the game. Because that's what this is now, a game, and Matt is playing it with terrifying precision. Nick's protective instincts surge immediately. Sharon can see it in his eyes, that familiar Newman intensity. But beneath it, there's something else too, fear. Not for himself, for her. For everyone connected to this, Sharon's mind races. If Matt knew about Los Angeles, what else does he know? Who else is he tracking? Has he been watching her too? The warmth of the coffee house vanishes, replaced by an invisible chill that creeps under the skin. And somewhere out there, Matt is smiling. At the Newman Ranch, tension is no less explosive. Billy stands in Victor's living room, absorbing the ultimatum that just detonated in his world. Chancellor will belong to Victor by the end of the day, or Jack Abbott will never be seen again. Billy's pulse pounds in his ears. He searches Victor's face for any sign of exaggeration, any hint that this is just another ruthless business tactic. But Victor isn't bluffing. His expression is cold, controlled, certain. Nikki watches carefully, her posture rigid but silent. Victoria's eyes flick between the two men, the clash of titans unfolding right in front of her. Billy forces himself to stay steady. "You're threatening my brother," he says slowly, deliberately. Victor doesn't flinch. "I'm offering you a choice." The room feels smaller, the air thinner. Billy's mind races. Jack had been his anchor, his voice of reason. And now Victor is using him as leverage in a corporate war that spiraled into something far more personal. For a split second, Billy's earlier paranoia about Phyllis resurfaces. Is this all connected? Is she part of something bigger? Victor offers no details, no explanations, just a timeline and a demand. By the end of the day, Billy leaves the ranch with his heart pounding and his thoughts colliding. The stakes are no longer financial, they're familial. And when the Abbotts are cornered, they don't fold easily. But how far is he willing to go to protect Jack? Meanwhile, back on Kane's train, the alliance between Kane and Phyllis grows more fragile by the minute. Kane's request for 24 hours hangs between them like a ticking clock. Phyllis isn't known for patience, especially when power is within reach. She paces slightly, restless, her mind calculating angles and outcomes. Daniel is the key, but he's hesitant, and hesitation is dangerous. Kane insists he's making progress. He can see cracks forming in Daniel's resistance. The idea of forgiveness as leverage is taking root. But Phyllis doesn't want cracks. She wants a breakthrough. She suggests using Tessa to reach Daniel emotionally. Tessa understands reconciliation. She understands complicated love. If anyone can nudge Daniel toward giving Phyllis another chance, it's her. Kane studies Phyllis carefully. For all her bravado, there's something raw in her expression, something desperate. "Are you doing this for power?" Kane asks quietly, "or for your family?" For a brief moment, just a flicker, Phyllis's armor thins, but she doesn't answer directly. Instead, she redirects, focuses on strategy, control, outcomes, because vulnerability has never been her comfort zone. And yet, the possibility of losing her children forever, that terrifies her more than any corporate defeat ever could. Back at Crimson Lights, Daniel and Tessa's earlier conversation lingers in the air long after Sharon and Nick leave. Daniel replays her words in his head. She would consider forgiveness. That surprises him. He spent so long bracing himself against disappointment where his mother is concerned. Protecting himself, protecting Summer, protecting what little stability they've managed to build. But what if Kane is right? What if Phyllis really is miserable beneath her victories? Daniel thinks about childhood memories, the chaos, yes, but also the fierce love. Phyllis has always been extreme in everything. Maybe that includes regret. Still, surrendering power in exchange for forgiveness feels almost too neat, too strategic. He doesn't want to be manipulated. Again, and across town, Sharon sits alone later that evening, replaying Matt's message over and over in her mind. She knows mind games when she sees them. Matt didn't have to text. He chose to. He wanted Nick to know he was one step ahead. He wanted Sharon to feel that creeping dread, that sense of being watched. And it's working. Her phone buzzes suddenly. Her breath catches. But it's not Matt. It's Nick. Just checking in, just making sure she's okay. Sharon smiles faintly, reassured by the simple gesture. Whatever storms are gathering, she isn't facing them alone. Yet somewhere in the darkness of Genoa City, Matt continues to pull invisible strings. He's not running, he's orchestrating. And as business rivalries turn into personal threats, as forgiveness becomes currency, as loyalty is tested against fear, one thing becomes chillingly clear. This isn't just about power anymore, it's about control. And the person who controls the narrative controls everything. Matt has made his move. Victor has drawn his line. Phyllis is gambling with her heart and her empire. Billy is racing against the deadline that could cost him his brother. And Sharon once again finds herself at the emotional epicenter of a storm she never asked for. The question now isn't whether Genoa City will explode, it's who will be standing when the smoke clears, because the games have only just begun.